Good morning, lovely people. Well, here we are. Um, it's anger day. Oh, yeah. So, this is a kind of a trial of Screenflow. We're going to see how it goes. And this is a very, very interesting chapter in the book. Excuse the squeaky chair. So, here's something I saw today which kind of sparked me straight away. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So, generally speaking, our view of anger, the view of anger in society, or that's certainly expressed here, is that it's something that we need to either repress or get rid of, or don't hold on to it, let it go. And I suppose the Buddha's comment links quite nicely into the book, into the idea of letting go. So, as we know, in Hawkins' kind of way of describing each emotion in each chapter, he's going to give us a series of keywords which you can see there, which you might relate to in terms of the way anger expresses itself. Sullenness, aggression, revenge, being jealous, being sarcastic. I think maybe the sarcastic bit is potentially part of being passive aggressive, which is also a big favourite of mine, I have to say. Now, he starts off by saying, yes, we do want to look at anger. We want to kind of bring it up and allow ourselves to examine it. But let's not assume that it's all negative. So there are positive uses of anger. So, for example, I wouldn't be here now doing this presentation if I hadn't got angry with myself, if I hadn't got angry at where I was and where I wanted to be, and realizing that there's a very big gap between the two and thinking I need to do something about it. So that's the first thing. Anger can be a very good positive force. Now let's move on to something about acknowledgement. So this is how we're now starting to look at anger in relationships. And one of the things that we sometimes find, if there is a problem of anger in our relationships, or there's the problem of resentment building up, often it has to do with the fact that maybe the other person doesn't feel acknowledged, or you feel acknowledged. So, for example, if a friend phones me, do I thank them for phoning me? Am I the kind of person who should keep in touch with people more but doesn't? Am I socially lazy? This, that, and the other. So a lot of anger that comes from relationships comes from, from their point of view, unacknowledged acts of love that they might have expressed to me that I haven't acknowledged. And one of the things that Hawkins talks about is how easy it is to repair your relationships just through using acknowledgement. So far we've looked at anger as a positive thing, and we've looked at one very quick way of healing through acknowledgement and appreciation. Now, this is something you may have come across before, but there will be times where people will give you negative feedback, give you comments, and what Hawkins talks about is this idea of them giving you a gift. So anyone who's giving you negative feedback, anyone who's you're getting a critical vibe from them, this is by far the best way to look at it, because what's actually happening is that what you're seeing in them, sorry, this could also be some people that are annoying you. So what you're seeing in them are the things that are the problem within yourself. So very, very simple example of that. I have a friend who has a little nervous tic that irritates me, and I understand that it's about their lack of self-esteem and their whatever. But actually, when I analysed it, when I looked at it from this perspective, and this is what always happens when I do this, I realised the lesson they have for me is you're reacting to this emotionally. This is making you angry and irritated because you have the similar problem. You have a problem with self-esteem and you're covering for it, and the self-esteem is the thing that's stopping you from fulfilling your goals. Okay, so it's almost like taking a Zen approach to human relationships. Now, the next thing is about codependence. Codependence, basically, he doesn't actually label it as codependence, but codependent people have problems with accurate self-esteem, and they have problems with boundaries. And generally, This is what happens when we get angry and frustrated because we are doing things that we don't necessarily want to do, or we feel other people are making too many demands on us, all right? And there are two aspects of this. There's giving and receiving. So let's say we are feeling resentful. He says, by shifting what we've done for others from the level of a sacrifice to the level of a loving gift, we can drop our expectations, which will dissolve resistance in others. So here's the first part of the recipe. And I know someone who does this. I have a friend, another friend, who is incredibly giving and gives with an incredibly full heart. And they do it from a very, very high vibration. And if you think about what he's saying, what Hawkins is saying in the other parts of the book, like attracts like. And so what happens is when he gives so generously and with a full heart, he attracts people who do the same. He doesn't necessarily attract takers because he's not keeping score. He's not giving with expecting to receive. He's giving with a very full heart. And that is a marvelous way, I think, to look at things. So if you are in a position to give, try to do it with a full heart. Try not to keep score. Try not to do it because you want to receive something. And here's the other part of the sandwich, getting. We get what we want when we stop insisting on it. So if you're giving in order to receive, you're far less likely to receive. It's that old, he uses the idea of the boy-girl sort of dynamic. Boy chases girl, girl runs away, boy stops chasing, girl comes towards. It's life, you know. We kind of move away from people who we think are trying to get something from us. Yes, now, this is about an idea that he talks about, which is, he calls this chronic resentment, and we become injustice collectors. So this is something that I've realized about human relationships, about my attitude towards politics, letting go of the anger that I might feel where I see something that I perceive as injustice or wrong. What we do as human beings is we create a kind of schema around people or groups of people. We start thinking, oh, they're all like this, they're all like that, or he always does this, she always does that. And then we start to look for evidence to back up our point. And unfortunately, what we're doing is we're just making relationships much more difficult for ourselves. We become addicted to making people wrong, and we do it because we don't really want to deal with them. Okay? And then if we come back to the idea that people that we might be disagreeing with could, in theory, be doing us a great favour, that allows us to look at other people's point of view and try and see the world from their perspective and realise that, in fact, there are often just two ways of looking at something rather than one. It doesn't make us right and them wrong. It just means that we have different perspectives. So there is an enormous amount more to talk about in terms of anger. But I think, as a summary, those are probably the main points that I would want to bring up. I hope that this has been useful.